Hey, Zach, we're going to be a phone call today, bud.
Sounds good.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. How was everybody's weekend?
It was good. How was yours?
Mine was fantastic. Very quick. Quick trip down to Tampa. See the family down there. So flew down Saturday morning, got back last night. So yeah, quick but good. All right, let's jump in this morning, guys. Last week we spent some time. We were talking from the National Association of Realtors. Every year they put out their profile of home buyers and sellers. It's an extensive list of questions that gets asked of recent home buyers and sellers, and it asks a ton of questions, including, why did you sell? What did you do once you sold? What did you buy? How did you find your house? How did you find your agent that you're working with? So it goes into a lot of detail, and it really becomes a roadmap for us every year of not only what people are looking for in their broker relationship, but it also gives us a really clear understanding of what it is they're trying to do and who really the target market is for us when we're talking about buyers and sellers. So last week, we went over some brief overview around the buy side. Again, if you can join on our morning 7:45 calls, we did a deeper dive into the buy side Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday last week. For this call this week, we're going to be talking about an overview of the selling side, the sellers themselves, and we're going to look at some of the characteristics or basic statistics, if you will, of the seller and the seller experience. So let's just dive in. I'm going to give you this stuff kind of quickly here. Take notes if you can, all of that. So here we go. Typical age of home sellers was 64 years old, highest ever recorded. Of all homes sold on the market, 81% did not have children under the age of 18 residing in the home. Okay, so 4 out of 5 homes, no kids under 18. So you got 64-year-old sellers, no kids under 18. So far, we're getting an idea of who the seller themselves, what their characteristic is. Okay. Now, when they sold the home, what did they do? What did they buy? Let's look at this real quick. 19% of home sellers purchased a home in a region other than the one in which they sold a home. That's only 19%. 2/3 of home sellers moved within the same state, and 15% remained in the same region. So you got 2/3 of home sellers are basically staying within the state, and everybody else is moving a little bit, maybe outside of their immediate area, but staying somewhat in the same general region. 34% of sellers traded up. and purchased a home that was larger in size than what they previously owned. 32% bought a home that was similar in size, and 32% traded down and purchased a home that was smaller in size. That statistic, that category right there, obviously, as I just stated it's about 1/3 bought up, 1/3 stayed the same, 1/3 downsized. Why do you think maybe somebody would buy, a 64-year-old seller selling a home? How many people maybe thought that everybody in that case was downsizing?
Most cases.
Yeah, well, and this is what it's telling us, that only a third actually downsized. 2/3 of the people remained, that the home they bought was either the same size as the one they sold or larger. So 2 out of 3 are buying similar size or bigger, and only 1/3 is downsizing. 50% of all sellers purchased a newer home than their previous home. So yeah, half roughly on that one. 28% purchased a home of the same age, and 26% purchased an older home. For all sellers, the most commonly cited reason for selling their home was the desire to move closer to friends and family, followed by the home was too small and or the home was too large. So 10% said their home was too small, 10% said their home was too large, but 26% was the number one reason that they wanted to be closer to friends and family. And then 8% said there was a change in family situation. Doesn't go into any other detail as to what the change is, but it just said in that category there was 8% cited that as the reason for selling. How long did these sellers stay in their homes? The median number of years a seller owned their home was 11 years, which is an all-time high. Tenure is up from 10 last year. And from 2000 to 2008, the tenure in the home was only 6 years. So prior to the great financial crisis in 08, on average, seller was selling about every 6 years. Now they're staying in their home an all-time high of 11 years. So think about that one for a second, guys. You get somebody that buys a home with you recently, and you think about your post-closing follow-up plan, whatever that looks like. Is it targeted? Is it set for the long term? Because if you've got folks that, if they're going to follow this average, if your buyers become the average seller and stay in their home 11 years, does your follow-up plan support 11 years of follow-up? And right off the bat, some of you may be going, oh my God, 11 years. I mean, that's like forever. Well, here's the next question I have. Are you going to be in business 11 years from now? Would you like to have them as a repeat client? More importantly, the 11 years is about them transacting, but don't forget, in that process of following up consistently over the next 11 years, if that's the average for your folks, how many referral opportunities are going to be generated during that 11 years? Now, what if some of them gave you a couple of referrals a year? Over 11 years, that could be 22 referrals you receive from one client you just closed. Some may give more, some may not give any. But the point of it is, if we have a consistent post-closing follow-up plan, and don't look at them as the transaction that just closed, and I'll stay in touch periodically over the next few years, I'll be honest with you guys, most don't. You may do an occasional follow-up. It really does depend on how well you knew the person. Like if they're a good friend and they bought a home with you, yeah, you're probably going to follow up a little bit more consistently. But if it was somebody that you didn't know, you did the transaction, everything went okay, you liked each other and all that, and you want to stay in touch, don't just throw this to casualness that you'll call them a couple of times a year. You'll stop in and see them. You'll go have coffee with them. That's not a system that's going to bode well for this kind of data that we see out there. I don't want you guys missing out on opportunities. Okay, so I really want you to think about it from that perspective. So 11 years, all-time high. For recently sold homes, the final sales price was a median of 99% of the final listing price. And for all sellers, time on the market this year was a median of 4 weeks, which is 1 week longer than last year. Satisfaction with the sales process. 2/3 of sellers were very satisfied with the selling process. And 24% were somewhat satisfied. So if you think about it, you got 9 out of 10 people are saying they were at least somewhat satisfied with the process, but you've got 2/3 that are saying, yeah, we were very satisfied with the selling process. So if you get somebody that's really super satisfied with your service you provided them as a list agent, let me ask this question. How likely are you to get referrals from them?
Very.
Yeah, I would say very, right? You at least have the opportunity to ask. And if you're going to follow up consistently, if you're going to treat it as a care call, you're going to, have a consistent, defined plan to stay in touch every year, you're at least creating the opportunity to receive a referral. And the lower amount of touches you have with that client who just closed with you, the lower the likelihood you're going to get repeat or referral business. Okay. All right. I'm going to give you some other things here to consider. Now I want to talk about some strategies around some of the things that we talked about. And really, it's going to be going back to, what did they buy when they sold? We're going to spend some time around that. Hang on here 1 second. Let me get down here. Get back to this other stat I wanted. Okay, here we go. This is the other one I wanted to go over with you guys. Sellers, what percent of sellers wanted to sell earlier but waited or stalled because home was worth less than the mortgage? And this is broken down by tenure in the home. So what does all that mean? 96% were able to sell when they wanted. 6% of those who purchased their home within the last 5 years reported stalling or waiting to sell the home. So in other words, the home hadn't increased in value to the same level of what maybe the mortgage they had on it. And so maybe there wasn't enough equity in there yet, depending on their down payment and what the appreciation looked like in the property. So they waited until either the value increased or there was some other opportunity for them to buy something that made the financial piece worthwhile. But think about this for a second, guys. That was only 4%. It was only 4%. 96% of people said, yes, I was able to sell when I wanted. So here's the other thing to consider. While we see that on average, the sellers are remaining in their homes for 11 years, do you have any situations with sellers or with a homeowner who has purchased a home with you, say in the last 3, 4, 5 years, that maybe they want to sell, they have a need to sell, but the financials aren't quite lining up, so they're stalling it. They're waiting. What could those conversations look like as opportunities for you where you could show them the path kind of what's going on? Because again, if people are thinking about it, they're probably going to go to a Zillow first, get an idea of what, they think their home is worth, whether that's going to be, how far off of accurate is that going to be? I mean, we know it can be as much as 20% off, sometimes even a little bit more than that. So it's your opportunity just again to check in with people and see how they're doing and what's going on in their lives. And is there any opportunity to have a real estate conversation? Because somebody might be sitting there going, I want to sell, but I don't think I can. Because based on what Zillow says my home is worth, I owe more than that, or, there's just not enough equity in here, or whatever their reasoning is. So they just stall the process. They don't even reach out and have the conversation with us. But if we do our care call and our follow-up call, it's a great opportunity to get in front of them. All right, so that's the stats. We covered this for about 15 minutes just on statistics around it. Before we move into the next part of this call today, any ahas, any thoughts, any comments around any of the data you've heard so far?
Money's in the follow-up.
Money is always in the follow-up, isn't it?
Number one reason about being closer to friends and families kind of just shows that we still live in a world that people desire community.
Yeah, they want community, they want connection. That's really, really important to them. Absolutely. Anybody else? Any ahas from the data? All right, well, let's take this information then and let's go ahead and kind of strategize it. So if you were to break down your sphere of influence, your database, your CRM, the contacts in your phone, however you're doing this, and I would highly recommend you're in a CRM, use Command, it works, it functions, it's got all the tools you need in there. But if you really broke down kind of the demographics of your own database as it relates to some of this information we talked about today, can you start seeing, like, at least in your mind, how many potential clients and opportunities you might actually have? And if so, what is that number? How many 64-year-olds do you have in your database? How many people have lived in their home at least 11 years do you have in your database? How many people that want to have some sort of a situation where they just want to live closer to family or friends? How many people feel that their home is too small? How many people in your database feel their home is too big?
10% of each.
Okay, well, I mean, so here's the thing. If you know the number of the people, it tells you what conversation to have with them. If you don't know the answers to any of these questions, it's a great way to connect with your database. And it's super simple, guys. Here's what it is. I'll give it to you as easy as I possibly can. So, guys, I'll pretend Zach's in my database. So Zach, every year, NAR puts out a profile of home buyers and sellers. This is some of the things that we see every single year. And I like to just follow up with everybody and see if any of these things maybe apply to you, because we might not be having a conversation about any needs you have in real estate, but maybe there's something out there that's kind of triggered the idea, but you just didn't think you could do it. So if you don't mind, can I ask you a couple of questions? That's you, Zach.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it, buddy. So I know you've been in your home now about 5 years. How do you feel about, like, your home in general? Is it suiting your needs of what you're looking for?
Yeah, it's a little small, but it works.
Okay, it's a little small. Okay. So if you were going to consider maybe a purchase of a bigger home, first of all, do you have an idea of how much bigger you would want the home to be? And would this also be an opportunity for you to maybe choose a new area to live?
I don't know. I guess I haven't really thought about it.
Well, what if we sat down and we kind of talked through a couple of things, and I can show you some of the stuff that's happening in the market? There may be some opportunities that you didn't know existed. Would that be worthwhile for you?
Yeah, we could do that.
All right, cool. Let's get together. We'll have a beer or something, and I'll bring some information to look through. Is that okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, perfect. Guys, that's it. It's conversational. We don't have to worry about trying to memorize a script. We just want to take information. We want to have a conversation with the people we already know and say, hey, this is something that's showing up out of curiosity. Does any of this apply to you, or have you thought, similarly? Or is there anything happening in your world or your life that would cause you to have some sort of a change in your, where you live? Just ask the questions. It's all about them, and that just shows that you care. And this isn't like, oh, I'm just trying to call so I can generate a commission. How many people do you know that might be getting close to retirement in your sphere of influence? How many people have some sort of a job change where it might not be a full relocation to a brand new city, but maybe it's just a different job across town? Because ironically, the job relocation, that's 6% of all sellers. 7% was because of retirement. 5% was upkeep of home is too difficult due to health or financial limitations. 3% want to move closer to the current job. 2% cannot afford the mortgage and other expenses of owning a home. And then it gets into just other crap after that. I'm not going to go into. But guys, I mean, there's the reason why they're selling. Let's go plug these reasons into our actual world and see, does anybody have, or has anybody even thought about what it might look like to move somewhere else, move into a different type of home, or they've had some sort of a change in their world that would cause perhaps a better situation from where they currently live. So think about it from this other perspective. These are the core reasons that we've kind of covered. I've given you what the top, probably 7 or 8 here that are on this list from this survey, this profile that NAR does every year. And if you think back from a macroeconomic standpoint in the United States, how many resale homes have we been closing, selling over on average over the last 4 years? 4 million. Whoever said 4 million is correct. So it's been either slightly under or just a little bit above, but it's been hovering right around 4 million homes, resale homes we've been selling in the United States really over about the last 4 years. We're maybe predicted this year to hit 4.2 to 4.3. It's still a very anemic pace, and our industry is considered to be in a recession because of only selling 4 million homes. Because over the span of looking at how many homes a year do we typically sell, we're looking at numbers that are at 30 and 40-year lows. And yet we've been stuck there. But yet that number rarely is going to go to zero. It's never been zero. Here's why. These needs come up, and these needs and these reasons why they're selling have nothing to do with really market conditions. It's all about personal need. I want to be closer to family and friends. The home is too small. The home is too large. Change in family situation. Neighborhood has become less desirable. I'm moving due to retirement. I have a job relocation. Upkeep of home is too much. I want to be closer to my current job. I mean, those are your top reasons. None of those say, I'll do it, but I have to wait for better conditions. They do it because they need to or want to, or the timing is the important thing. So this is why it's really, hopefully you're seeing some dots here that I'm connecting for you guys. We have our databases, we have our CRMs. Are we truly having the conversations with people? Are we identifying what some of these top reasons might be in the existing world we have? And what potentially would that start looking like for us to get more listing-based and seller-based conversations? All right, gang, that's what I wanted to give you guys today. Anybody have any thoughts, any comments, any questions? You want to keep talking about strategy? How can I best help you around this whole topic?
I mean, I'm always happy to talk strategy.
Okay, well, let's strategize. How would you do this with your, if you just took a list of names, this may be a twofold conversation. If you just had a list of names in your phone, let's say you had 1,000 contacts in your phone, but you don't really have anything set up in a CRM. What should be your first step?
Set up your CRM.
Okay, we probably should get the CRM set up. Why do we want to get a CRM set up?
So you can formulate a strategy about where they are and what demographics they're representing.
Yeah, because it's a great place to keep all the important information we're about to gather. It's a great place to store it, number one. Number two, it allows us to be more targeted in our communication and our value-based conversation and communication we're going to have with everybody. And it's all about consistency, right? So CRM, if you don't have it, or if you do have it, but you're not using it, step one, get it set up. Let's get the CRM set up. Let's get good, clean data in there, names, phone numbers, addresses, emails, whatever we can capture. And then let's just start doing some care calls and checking in with people and seeing, does anybody fall into any of these categories we mentioned? So for some of you, that's probably, that definitely should be your first step. That's the first strategy you should employ. If you have that set up, if you have your CRM up and working, up and functioning, what would maybe be the next step you could do within the CRM itself?
You could start breaking some of these down to categories. If you've closed, I mean, like for me, I moved back to Charlotte 2012. So if I'm looking at 9-year, 10-year, 11-year mark, I should be looking at some of these that closed then and re-engage some type of plan, how long people stay in homes.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that one. You know, even if you didn't communicate, if you just went into your database and you started looking around, I'm like, man, these people bought with me back in 2015. It's been 11 years. I wonder, right? You could tag it, you could set it up as a task. There's so many different things you can do that then will guide you when you go over to your time block and it's time for me to lead generate and lead follow up. Well, there you go. It's telling you what to do for the follow up, right? So tomorrow, maybe I should call the people I identify today and just check in with them and say, hey, it's been a while. You've been in the house now for, over 10 years. What's going on? What are your plans? Anything changing in the future? Right? Let's get some deeper knowledge, some deeper information around this. So that would be another strategy you could take if your CRM is up and functioning. And then the third strategy I would give you guys, even if you maybe are already doing that level, identify these people into a pipeline, get them into a system, and identify the system based on perhaps timing after you've had a conversation with them, and get an idea of maybe who's thinking about something still this year, who's thinking about something next year. Even if you targeted it that way initially, that's a big step, because what you're doing is it starts giving you kind of a future pace of looking at your business strategically to say, I still have potentially, 12 opportunities this year just on the sell side. Now my job is to follow up with these 12 and really sort of test the timing. Is this year does it truly make sense for them? And why? What's their motivation? Or, identifying people into next year. Okay, what part of next year? Would it be, before summer, during summer, after summer? And break them down that way. And we can constantly be refining this timing process of when people are kind of giving you their initial indications. And in following up, even just within the pipeline, trust me, you're going to be moving people forward and backwards constantly as their real motivation or their real timing starts to become more of a reality. Okay. So it's a great way to expose motivation. So those are 3 different strategies that everybody could implement today, regardless of where you are in your business, that I guarantee you, if you do the work, you'll have conversations, you'll identify more people who need your help. All right, gang, that's what I had for you today. Final thoughts, comments, questions?
Yeah, when's the Chip YouTube channel coming out?
We're working on it, man. Definitely working on it. All right, gang. Appreciate everybody being on. Make it a great week. As always, anything I can help with, just ask, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good day.